Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you. These cushions for me.
Well, you do whatever you like with those. Take them home, put them on eBay. Tell me this, were you both confident that the Adelaide Football Club would work?
Firstly, yes.
I think you've both got a microphone there, but, well, should we turn it on? Just a thought. We turn them on in Victoria now. I think Channel 9's doing the audio tonight, so I'm sorry about that. I'm going to look through, I do this looking for bottles with the kids every morning. Have we got some handhelds at work? There's one. Anyway, we'll just take it straight off the bill, more to the players. Thank you. You're in charge. Bob, if you want to sing something. Were you sure it would work? Not the microphone, but the club? You've got to use the microphone if you can.
Performances at state level, state of origin in particular, suggested that there's no question that we had players capable of playing at the level we were entering. It was a matter of how quickly it would work as opposed to would it work. It was always going to work, but it was going to possibly take some time. I think we made giant strides. I think I mentioned earlier on when we gained the confidence of South Australia when we had 44,000 people to a trial game. We were interrupting the way football had been played for the last 100-odd years, and not everyone was as enthusiastic as we were. But to answer your question, it was always going to work. It was a matter of how long.
Can I ask you, Bill, Andrew McLeod made mention of the nervous nights. Did you get Andrew to the club single-handedly?
No, it's a long story, but I'll try and do it as quickly as I can.
We've got to play on Saturday. So
yeah, I know we're on a time limit. 1994, the club were going. I helped arrange for the club to go to London to play an exhibition game, and we were not involved in the trading at that stage. And about 4 days before the team the squad were about to leave, in discussion with Bob, we felt it might be a good idea if I stayed behind in the event of maybe a trade option turning up, and because at that stage we're just in between coaches, Graham and Robert Shaw. So it was essentially Tim Johnson and myself there. Tim rang me about 24 hours before the deadline for transfers to say that he'd had it on good authority that a young fellow named Andrew McLeod had been selected by Fremantle, didn't want to go there. Would we be interested? I fortuitously knew where Andrew was staying. I knew the guy he was boarding with. He was actually a friend of mine who told me about him early, a lot earlier, and I had seen him play a few games for Port Adelaide Reserves. That silky running action, moving, cutting through lines, just so quick, balance. And I said to Tim, we should get this guy. So we started discussions, and it's great that Jock can be here tonight to renew that acquaintance because it was a long, protracted situation over the next 24 hours. We've phoned 4 or 5 phones going at one stage to get him across the line. And right at the death knock, after Andrew had sort of agreed to come to Adelaide, he said, I better get a manager. At that stage, I was in discussion with a fellow named Damien Smith in Melbourne who was looking after Paul Roos, who we were speaking to. I said, right, Damien, look after Andrew, put another 10,000 on the top of the deal. He'll take it, he'll be happy, we'll be happy, and the deal was done. The next thing that happened, Jock rang me and said, I've just had a fellow named Gummy or Guppy or some name like that from Collingwood ring me and offer if Andrew goes to Collingwood, he'll give me a new Holden and Andrew a lot of money. We had to quickly convince Jock that that was nonsense and they were just trying to stymie us. Fortunately, they made the decision and they've become lifelong friends, and we know what the McLeod family means to the Adelaide Footy Club.
Absolutely. Well done. I feel like I'm talking with Marlon Brando and Robert Duvall from The Godfather here. But, Bob, in regard to players, does Tony Modra have a special place in your heart?
Tony Modra has a special place, I would say, in every woman's heart, particularly some in this room. Tony Modra did as much as any individual for the Adelaide Football Club with his feet on the field that I can mention. Tony Modra, I was going to say as a freak, that's an unfair comment. Tony Modra is an outstanding player. His marking ability overhead, his soccering ability when the ball was on the ground, and his input as far as the Adelaide Football Club was concerned can't be measured because of the admiration that he brought to the club with his feats alone. No team operates with one player, but by gosh, he certainly made everyone else stand up.
Well, you've got the microphone. 97, 98. Your thoughts? What comes to your mind when I mention the premierships?
The two preliminary finals. I'm convinced that Liberatore kicked a goal that would have won the final for, would have won the prelim final for Footscray. It was awarded a point. But I think we'll pause there for a moment and just reflect upon how that final was won. My honest assessment of the ability of our side over the year's performance was that they were about the fourth or fifth best team in the competition. The fact that the coach, who's an outstanding coach, was able to harness them all with one single purpose in mind, to win the 97-98 grand finals, was just a feat that probably will never be repeated with sides that weren't necessarily as good in the top two. To come from where they did to win those finals was testament, but the ability of the coach to have them all of a single mind was just outstanding.
Bill, were you surprised with how South Australia reacted? I know you took the Premiership Cup around to regional areas. That took sort of 6 or 7 years out of your life.
Those 2 years, Hamish, ran into one another. And I think the goodwill that our football club was able to generate, not only to itself, our club, but to everybody within South Australia, was immeasurable. I can remember standing on the stage in Melbourne where we were presenting our players immediately after the first grand final, and John Olsen was the premier of the day. David Hooks was interviewing the players. And I said to John, I would love to be able to take the cup around South Australia to share it with the regional centres of South Australia, because we have so much support out there, as Bob mentioned earlier. How much will it cost? I said off the top of my head, another 10,000. Done. So the Premier provided an aeroplane for us, a turbojet. We fitted about 9 guys in it, and we did a whistle-stop tour of about 10 regional centres of South Australia, sharing that premiership with the people in hospitals, in schools, and it was such an uplifting feeling for, I think, our players, but even more so for the people that we were able to share it with. And we had some fantastic times on that trip, and some memorable ones. Just quickly, we dropped the cup on the tarmac in Ceduna, got a dent in it. That dent still exists. We're having dinner in the Tasman. This is a nice little story. We're having dinner in the Tasman hotel the last night before we were due to fly out to Maitland, and I said to the pilot and the guys, we had the mandatory esky in the middle of the aisle of the small plane, and I said to the pilot before we left, do these things loop the loop? You know, we give the boys a bit of a thrill. And he said, no, if we fly upside down, the fuel will drain out of the carby and we'll stall. But he said, I could do something else. I said, OK. So next, we got on the plane, and I thought, I was usually sitting up the front. I put Peter Caven up next to the driver, and I sat one back, and the skipper said, when I do 3, 2, 1, hang on. So we scoot out over the marina, out from the airport, over the marina, about 500 feet. And all the guys, they were keen to get home. Where are we going? What's going on? And all a bit the worse for wear. And next thing, we're heading out across the Yorks Peninsula at 500 feet, and he goes 3, 2, 1. I told our guys to strap up, which they did. He gunned it. We went straight up into the air, just climbed at a rapid rate, just jetted straight up into the air. The esky went sliding back down crashed into the back of the plane. We then hung at the top and dived down the other way, down the other side. Well, the scream, there was all these guys yelling out that crow's word. What's it? Ark, is it, or something like that? And I looked around, and 3 of them had their breakfast coming out of their noses and their ears, and anyway, we did the one dive, and the pilot said, "Shall we do it again?" Yeah, so we did one more. Well, when we got off, they all vowed to get me one day, and it took about 4 years, but Triggy got me back one day on a jet ski.
Bill will be playing at the Comedy Festival all week. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the Godfather and his right-hand man, Bob Hammond and Bill Sanders, the two inductees into the Hall of Fame. Entree now, more very soon. Well done.